Hello, gorgeous people. Well, I'm here on my new couch and I'm talking to you about the worst experience that I've had with a card reader that happened last week. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So, we were recommended a card reader, a psychic, somebody who was really good. We were recommended by a good friend and she said, go and see that woman, she's great. Now, I've had some beautiful experiences with psychics, those who read the cards, etc. I've had some fantastic messages. In fact, the very first one that I had, she was just unbelievable. I've seen it twice. And she told me a series of things that came true across something like 10 years. I've seen other people. I had a one with somebody online. She was great. And so my opinion of good psychics is very positive. So I went to see this lady with my wife and we were well, I was excited. She wasn't. For whatever reason, she wasn't that excited about it. But I was like, whoa, lovely. Why? I had in my mind that I wanted to ask about the next 10 years of my life. You know, how's it going to roll out? You know, what should I focus on? What should I be looking at? So I went there, we got in, and by the way, she charges 60 euros a person. So it cost us 120 euros. Okay, so let's say 100 pounds or whatever. Quite expensive. So in my mind, being the optimist that I am, I thought, well, if she charges that, she must be bloody good. So we went there and we went in and we went into a cabin. A house was there, but she had this like cabin, wooden cabin set up. Inside the cabin, she had incense burning on the table in front of me. Now I have a problem with strong perfumes. I can't tolerate them. So already I was a bit like, whoa, that's a bit much, isn't it? Like, you know, incense going up my nose and everything. She was smoking a fag, right? Which I've got no problem with people smoking a fag, but not in a little cabin. It was tiny. It was tiny, this little cabin. Anyway, so Cynthia was there. She was making notes on a phone. That was the idea. And then I was going to make notes for her because you can't remember. It was like, it's going to be an hour long, each person. So she gave me the cards. I'd never seen these cards before. They were weird ones. And she said, hold them in your hands to give them your energy. So like this. And then she started. With the, so who's Teresa? Teresa. Obviously she used the Spanish name. Who's Teresa? And we both looked at one another and said, don't know. Teresa Hidalgo. And we said, never heard of her. And so she put that to one side. But she always, you know, these people always go, you watch, that name will be important at some point. And then she said, so who's Miriam? Miriam. And we said, don't know. So already I was thinking, oh, are we doing this name thing? I'll just keep giving you names until we get a name that works for you, you know? So, but I thought, I'm going to try not to give her any information. Just let her do her stuff. So she starts putting the cards out like this. And she put the first card down and said, these were her words. Ooh, that's not good. That's a bad card. And then she put the next two cards down and she went, they're even worse. So I've got this thing about if you've got a gift and your gift is to tell people what's coming, what's on the other side, stuff like that, you keep the bad stuff to yourself. And what you would do, in my opinion, is you would say, okay, so what I would say is be careful with these areas, not her. No, she went, that's bad, that's terrible. Right. These are the things that she told me, right, within the first 10 minutes, that I was going to have a brain hemorrhage, that it could be, I could also get cancer, that I was going to end up in prison, and Cynthia and I were going to separate because I was going to end up in prison. And then she told me that I had mal de ojo. Now, mal de ojo, it's very old-fashioned. It's a bit the evil eye. I've got the evil eye. And she said, somebody is doing witchcraft on you. And you've got a mountain of karma and you're going to need lots and lots of help. So already I was pissed off. I was incredibly pissed off. I was thinking, well, that's not what I came for. This is not, I don't want to hear you spouting off about all the terrible things that are going to happen to me. Have you got pains? You've got pains in your shoulders? I said, no. You've got pains in your back? No. Pain in your head? No. I said, I'm really well, thank you very much. So she just continued on talking about how bad it was. Now, I give her a bit of information because she said, what about your brothers and sisters? Do you have a good relationship with them? I go, well, I think I know what you're going to tell me. And I said, with some of them, yes, and with others, I don't have a relationship because they're Jehovah's Witnesses. That was it. She took that, and that was going to be her theme for the rest of the chat. Oh, they're doing bad stuff. They want you to go back. They're doing witchcraft to make you come back. They're going to put you in a position where it's going to be so difficult. They're going to say either come back or we're not going to help you. Honestly, I was really, really not happy. But then she did something which I've heard before, but I hadn't experienced it, which was, you've got extremely bad karma. Have you ever done the constellation work? And I said, no, I haven't. I've heard of it, but I haven't done it. And she said, I do that, and that would be very good. We have a group on Saturday, okay? So I thought, already, she's selling. She's saying, you've got this problem, and I've got the solution. Then she went on, this mountain of karma that you've got. You've got loads of karma. And she said, but you can get rid of it. And she started to, honestly, she mentioned eggs about 1,000 times. That had to do all kinds of different things with eggs. And then she said, however, that I could get rid of in just one session. So I'm thinking, all right, so now what you're doing is you're projecting onto me all this bad stuff. And then you're telling me that you can fix it. I can't. Oh, what you were saying was you can fix this, but it's a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of eggs as well. I mean, you know, I like to eat eggs. I don't like to be putting them in 4 corners of my house, as she told me umpteen times, and passing an egg over my body and stuff like that. Don't quite know what the egg situation is with her, but she's a great fan of eggs. She's egg-tastic. So about 15 minutes in, I looked her in the eye. I was really, I was like this, and I was thinking, what I want to do is to say to her, can we just stop this now? And I thought, no, for the sake of my wife was there, and it would have been quite embarrassing, but I was absolutely furious. I really was. I was very, very angry. And I said to her, do you see anything positive in those? Because she laid the entire lot of cards, and there was nothing. There was one positive thing. Okay? The entire range of cards, everything was bad. She told me my mum was going to die. You know, my mum is 87. She's had a stroke. But she's well. She's very well. But, you know, I'm no fool. She's going to die. And it'll be sooner rather than later. It won't be in another 100 years. So it's kind of like telling me the obvious, that my mum's going to die. And she said, oh, she's had a stroke. Well, you know, these things are hereditary. And I'm seeing in the cards that it's likely it's going to happen to you as well. And I thought, fuck off. There was a point where I thought, hang on a minute. I'm in a very, very delicate situation here because I've got a lot of belief in this kind of process. But I didn't believe anything that she was telling me. There was nothing, because she wasn't psychic. She didn't give me one thing that I hadn't given her. So there was nothing extra, you know, and I've seen some great psychics who say, oh, by the way, such and such is here, and, you know, they're watching over you, and they're very specific about who that person is. Nothing. She was throwing shells on the floor, and if the 3 of them were turned up, it meant I had loads of karma, and if 3 were turned down, it meant I was going to die or something. There was no, like, but, you know, if 4 up, it means everything's okay. No, that wasn't an option. It was either you're going to die or you're going to have loads of karma. So at one point I thought, I've got to protect myself. So I surrounded myself in my bubble of light, the one that I use, and I used to use a lot when I was working with people in therapy. I crossed my fingers as well. For whatever reason, I just thought, I'm going to cross my fingers. I'm going to surround myself in a bubble of light. And all I did on the inside was a mantra of, this is bullshit. this is bullshit, because I thought there's no way, you know, these people are very powerful, because if you've got an ounce of belief and they're telling you that lots of bad stuff's going to happen, that is a really positive negative, a really positive negative, it's a really negative affirmation, positively put. Cynthia didn't fare that much better. It was slightly better, but I think she adjusted it because she could tell I was so pissed off. Cynthia was saying, I was looking at your face and I was thinking, oh my God, Gordon is really angry. And I was really angry. I was disappointed. I was angry because I was disappointed in her style. That wasn't what I was expecting, and it wasn't what she should be giving. She could help a lot of people, but instead what she's chosen to do is to give them bad news. That's what she thinks she is, a harbinger of ill, of evil. And so afterwards, I mean, I had to do a cleanse afterwards. I came back, I was doing that stuff, burning that stuff, what's it called again? Anyway, we did a cleanse. I cleansed the house, I cleansed myself. I did some meditation as a cleaning, just wanted rid of all of that. It was horrible, horrible experience. So I was talking to the emissaries about it as well. I thought, well, I'll get their take on it and see what they think. And what they said was that what she was doing, right, fair enough, look, I've forgiven her in my way, I've had to let that go. She does her thing, I do my thing. I would never ever in a million years do that with people, ever. And I do mess around with the tarot cards, but I only give positive, you know, or helpful messages from the tarot cards. Never anything like that. Not warnings or telling you you're going to die, which is effectively what she did. So that I was talking to the emissaries and they said what she was doing was she was bringing with her that energy, this energy of, I am going to find the problems for this person. And what they made me think of is it's what doctors do. And this is why I haven't stepped into a doctor's surgery about myself for 30 years. Doctors are trained to look for problems, right? You go for a test. What are they testing for? They're not testing to see if you're wonderful. They're testing to see what problems they can find. That as an intention, and we know how the universe works, your intention brings with it certain energies. And that intention, the intention of a doctor to let me see if I can find any problems, is exactly what she was doing. Let me find the problems. So the emissary said what she was doing was bringing with her that negative energy, and therefore the cards were reading at that level, that low level energy. What they said was that low level energy thrives very much on fear and concern and worry and stress and all of that. And so that's what she was projecting. That's not where I am. Even if I were going to have a problem, I don't want to know about it. What, so I can worry about it for the rest of my life? No, I don't want to know about it. Hey, we're all going to die. No one gets out of this alive. Do we not? So the emissary said that's all that was happening. She's a bit old school, very old school, and a bit kind of coming from a dark place. That's all. And what they said is, when somebody is channeling high level messages, high level energy, they never ever would give messages like that. That's not what high level energy does. And I've done so much work with people with the higher self. Never ever have I ever had a negative message from the higher self, ever. For somebody's never ever given a negative message. Yeah, they've been told, hey, you should be doing this, or maybe you should leave that and focus on this. Absolutely. But never do they say, you're going to die, or you're going to be ill or whatever. No, even if there is something on the health side, which often people ask, I want to talk to my higher self about my health, the advice is always toward what you should do. Yeah? What you should do. Maybe you should focus more on your diet. Maybe you should focus more on what you're ingesting, etc. And I'm talking about all kinds of things that we ingest mentally and physically. So that was my story of the worst, the very, very awful experience that I had with a so-called healer. She certainly isn't. She only heals in her sessions that she charges afterwards, I think. if you're a believer. So I was disappointed, I was sad, but it's taught me a valuable lesson. The lesson is that not to trust just because somebody does these things. Don't believe. When somebody tells you bad news, you don't have to believe it. God knows. We have enough of that, don't we? In the news and everything. Everything's low level. Bad news, bad news, bad news. We don't have to believe it. And we certainly don't have to take it inside. And that's what, thank God, I've got my ways of protecting myself. And thank God I was able to see that instantly and stop it. Yeah. Have you had bad experiences? And have you had good experiences? Let me know in the comments. I'd be really interested to find out. I love you all, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.